So you're listening to the Tikkun Elevator Call and this is Baruch Fleischman, your Lyft manager. Today is Christmas Day, Xmas Day 2024. And we have to remember the theme of the rabbis, that the main exiles of the Jews, which are to Europe and to Africa, later is Africa. We're going to see some about this now, but really the main place the Jews lived in the Mediterranean, the diaspora, was Spain. And the focus of all the energy of the popes and the Catholic Church directed at punishing the Jews. And going back to the theme of the rabbis, that the real problems that the Jews have are today as a result of a very old family fight. It's hard to conceive of this. We live in a country which is approximately 250 years old. It's a great place. It has lots of freedom at this moment. We've been in other places where there was relative freedom as well. But it doesn't last. The fight is between our brother. We have a twin brother. The Jewish people, if one reads the Torah, know that we have a twin brother. That twin brother's name is Esav, or Esau in English. Esau, the rabbis say, became Rome. Rome is Esav. Were destroyed by Esav off of our land. It is a hate that at that time had been gestating for about 1,500 years, and finally grew in the Italian peninsula into a mighty, mighty, bloodthirsting army. They did many things in the world. They were able to make aqueducts and roads and many, many things. But blood is their symbol. Redness. We've also been scattered after that, particularly. We were scattered into the lands of another brother of ours, which is called Yishmael or Ismail, or the Arabs. Basically uneducated people, not particularly hardworking, but they accepted us, especially the Turks. They accepted us after the expulsion from Spain. So we have our war is that going on with the Jews is actually the war between the Europeans, which the Americans are descendants of the Europeans, and the Arabs on the one side, which are the Arabs, which are also our brothers. They're half-brothers of ours. This is a war that's been going on between 3,500 and 4,000 years. And it has manifested itself in many different places in many different times, but it's coming to a crucible at this time, because now there's the state of Israel. Now we have to go back to the year 31 March 1492, and we're going to talk about the expulsion from Spain. And considering the fact that most Jews at that time lived in Spain, as I said before, this is a tremendous, tremendous blow, one that the Sephardic community had to absorb, and we're going to read this now. So let me see if I can get this just a little bit better for me to see right now. We'll try to adjust it. Adjusting the camera sometimes leads to ruining the video, so let's see how this goes. The expulsion order came as a surprise to the Jews of Spain. During the month of April, unsuccessful efforts were made to rescind the edict, in which Miser Alfonso de la Caballero, it says a caballería, among others, was involved. So here, Miser Alfonso de la Caballería, caballero is nobleman, among others were involved. On 1 May, the edict was promulgated in Castile, and 2 days earlier in Saragossa. The Jews were allowed 3 months to wind up their affairs and leave Spain. Spanish Jewry immediately began to prepare to leave. Among those who left for Italy was the family of Don Isaac Abarbanel. He left for the port of Valencia. Compelled to forego loans he had advanced to the crown, in other words, he was extremely wealthy, and had lent money to the crown. He was permitted to take gold, silver, and jewelry out of the country, although this was forbidden in the edict. You had to go out penniless. Whatever estate you had, whatever small house you had, whatever you had, wound up being left behind. Others attempt to smuggle their valuables out. The authorities were interested in a calm and orderly expulsion. Various personalities, among them descendants of conversos, Luis de Santangel, so let's try it again, Santangel, and Francisco Pinelo, negotiated with and gave guarantees to ship captains for chartering vessels to carry the evacuations to North Africa and other places. This was a trying period for communities whose leaders had the additional task of disposing of community property. They had to do something with the synagogues, the schools, the public ritual baths, which were called mikvaot, and cemeteries, etc. Who was going to take care of this now? The value of property declined drastically. Houses, fields, and vineyards were sold for the price of a donkey or a mule. By contrast, the price of cloth and silk rose because the refugees were allowed to take such goods with them. The Christians at first hoped for a loss of faith on the part of Spanish Jews. They were going to scare them into becoming Christians. And a subsequent readiness to convert and remain in the land where they had resided for close to 1,500 years. They were astounded by the Jews' spiritual fortitude as they left for the ports of embarkation with hymns on their lips. Jews were forbidden ever to return to Spain on pain of death unless they were prepared to convert to Christianity. As a result, Spain was without Jews for hundreds of years. The Spanish expulsion served as a model for expulsions in Lithuania in 1495 and Portugal in 1496, though the latter was changed by King Emmanuel I, 1495 to 1521, for a forced conversion of the Jewish population. We're going to read about that, I think, in the next lecture. Because what happened is that the Jews were tricked and forcibly converted. Now, you would think that if you were in America, where I am, well, you don't do something else. You get out of it. Nobody pays any attention. But that's not the case here. The king had the army and the police. He had the church. He had the fathers. They were there. They were all there watching all the time. Can imagine living in a situation like that, and we'll read about it further. So he says, contemporary descriptions of the hardship and suffering of the banished Jews produced epics and equaled in the annals of human history. Now, let me bring this down a little bit more. We have to be able to adjust and hope that this keeps going. So now we have this little blurb. I heard it told by elders, exiles from Spain, that a certain ship was smitten by pestilence, and the owner cast the passengers ashore on a desolate site, whereupon most of them died of starvation. A few, attempting to walk until they could find a place of habitation. One Jew among them with his wife and 2 sons struggled to walk, and the woman became barefooted, swooned, and expired, while the man carrying his sons, both he and they collapsed from hunger, and upon recovering from his swoon, he found the 2 boys dead. Arising in great distress, he cried, "God of the universe, you do much to cause me to abandon my faith. Know you that despite those who dwell in heaven, I am a Jew, and will remain a Jew. Despite all you have brought upon me, or will bring upon me." And so saying, he gathered dust and grass, covered the youth, and went to seek an inhabited place. Now that gives us a little bit of a depiction. He says this is from Solomon Shlomo Ibn Berga. This was written in the late 15th century, early 16th century. That is, 15th century is 1493, 1492, like that. Okay, now we're going to come along, and let's see how I can do this visually, and take a look at this map. Now, in general, we'll look at the map this way. This is the routes taken out of Spain. It's amazing what happened, how far away we were able to get. At that time, most Jews went to Portugal. Big mistake. Many Jews went this way to North Africa, then some to France, going this way, then others to Italy. And we've read a bit about the expulsion orders and the fact that the Spanish church was very strong in different places in Italy. And as a result, those attitudes, though, that hatred of Jews manifest there too. I think we've seen that already. Let me see if I can get a little bit better focus on this part. Oh, that's the light. That did help. A little bit better focus. Now, let me see if I could come down a little bit lower without damaging anything. And let's take a look at what we see on this map. He says in this place which was called Extremadura. And let me see if I could turn this slightly so we could read this easily. It says, concentration of expelled Jews were found in Extremadura. Now, I'm thinking that this is part of Spain. I really don't. The boundary seems to be, this is Portugal, these lines. And Extremadura, he says, let me bring it back around again. "120,000 Jews left Spain into the Portuguese territory called Extremadura." Now here you see the map. There's Lisbon, I don't know how they pronounce it. Now let's read what they had to say. In March, take this light off. In March of the year 1492, the Edict of Expulsion was signed. 1 May 1492, promulgation of Edict. The Jew, that is, the first it was signed on the 31st of March, and then my birthday is May 1st. And on May 1st, 1492, they published it. Jews were given 3 months to leave. Now, it seems to me that you have to think that what was happening during the pandemic and different things where the Jews refused to go along with the edicts that were coming out of the United States government, the American government at that time, that never really expanded, but it's like a little seed, possibly, because the governments keep changing it this way, that way, left, right, left, right. But the left could develop a bead on the Jews, especially the Orthodox Jews. But it hasn't happened, and so God should bless us with sweetness. So he says, number 2, he says 25 Genoese ships transports Jews to Oran. So this is, they leave here, apparently, this place which is called Alcida, near Valencia. So there are boats that are chartered. They take people to Oran city in North Africa. One thing to remember about this is that the North Africans, that the Arabs, had just lost the war to Spain and had to cede Seville, Granada, Malaga, all of the Cadiz. All of this was controlled by Arabs, and they were expelled. This is not a happy place either. So once again, Genoese ships transport Jews to Oran. Fearing to disembark, Persia tries to find refuge elsewhere. Many die of hunger and epidemics or apostatize. In other words, they convert due to journey's hardships. Let's find number 3. So here we have, once again, you see the picture all these different places. In that particular one, and if you could see it, let's see it like this. This is how. There were 30,000 Jews that left. I think that's 50,000 Jews that left. That left through this way, heading for North Africa. Remember, North Africa is anything but tranquil at this time. Let's go to the next one. Number 3, where it is. Here it is. He says, number 3, in the month of July, 1492, we have the arisal of Don Isaac. He spells it Abrabanel. I thought it was Abarbanel. Maybe a misprint here, or maybe I'm wrong. He and his family, he is one of the first to leave Spain. He was extremely wealthy, and the crown was indebted to him. He was able to leave with his money. So that was here he came to Naples. Number 4. Where is number 4? Here it is. Number 4. And there were approximately, okay, that we haven't got to that one yet. We said the 30,000 Jews who left through here. Some of them went to Rome, some went to Avignon. Number 4, 10 November 1492. Now you're 4 months later. Guarantees issued allowing return of those Jews willing to convert. So this number 5. 9 March 1493. Now you've gone a year around since the edict was originally made. Certificate of protection issued for transfer through Catalonia to Italy. Okay, with these Jews leaving, going through here. Number 6. In December 1496, edict of expulsion promulgated. Now we're talking about this is Lisboa, in Spanish, Lisbon. That is where the seat of the Portuguese king resides. Edict, he says, promulgated 19 March 1490 said, the edict of kicking the Jews out, commuted by forced conversion. What does commuted by forced conversion mean? He's going to explain in the next shiur. Jews assembled at Lisbon, ceremonially baptized. The priests came out in mass with holy water, sprinkled it all over the Jews, and as I said before, they had the army behind them. The Jews were unarmed. Only a few managed to escape conversion. This is one of the tremendous and unbelievable hardship that Sephardic Jews had to go through. Well, that's the shiur. This is the first part of the 2-part shiur, and we're going to come to the next one now and see what Dr. Haim Beinhart can describe for us.